Wow, that's great. It's kind of an oddly pro-vegetarian movie, even though I am a big steak eater. I couldn't help it. You know, you see the civilized meat eating in the restaurant where they're cutting the steak, and then, of course, they're in the jungle. And the sad truth is that eventually we all are basically food. We're going to be worm food no matter what, whether we like it or not.
And the theme is obviously human mutilation a lot in some of your films. Is there a kind of obsession that you have with it, or where does that inspire you to create these shocking films that people love?
You know, it's interesting. The films, in a strange way, are about loss of control. And in Hostel, it's certainly about being completely powerless, thinking that you have power over another person, the way the kids pay for the prostitutes because they want power over them, and then they effectively become the prostitutes where someone's paying to do whatever they want to them. It just happens to be torture. You know, in the Green Inferno, I love the idea of these self-righteous kids that want to go and save the Amazon, but they don't really want to save the Amazon. That's not what they really care about. What they care about is being recognized for saving the Amazon. They want the credit. And if you notice, when they shut down the protests, they're all crying, they're all sad. But when they're trending on Twitter and CNN retweeted them, they're celebrating, and then they made the homepage of Reddit, and they're like, we did it, we're on Reddit, yeah! And then they crash in the jungle. Now, I think a very primal fear is being eaten. It's kind of the last unthinkable thing, and I think it's what makes zombie movies so popular. The idea not just that you're getting bit, but that you would want to do that. I mean, I also think it's what makes sharks so scary, that there is something bigger than you that will just eat you. As a woman said in the video, you gonna get ate. Like, that's the shark's house. But that's a real primal fear. The truth is that if we could psychologically get over the thought of cannibalism, if it was, we could probably cure hunger. It would be a great way to dispose of bodies. But you know, I like pushing horror to different boundaries, and I feel that movies have gotten really safe. Certainly horror movies, a lot of them are kind of set in a house, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think there's this type of filmmaking that was done in the 70s with movies like Cannibal Holocaust, Cannibal Ferox, Mountain of the Cannibal God, where even though, yeah, there's animal killings, and if you can get past that, there's a movie in there where you go, the people that made this are crazy. Like, they actually went into the jungle, and they took cameras, and they filmed with indigenous people, and you could never do that today because it's all disappearing. And I thought, that's it. That's the reason to make this movie. And also there's this form of activism that's this very self-righteous kind of hashtag shaming that's going on. And it really exploded with Kony 2012, where all of a sudden everyone's like, don't you care about child soldiers? You Hollywood a-hole. Like, you didn't tweet the YouTube video. You must not care. And then Free Pussy Riot. And they're like, you don't care about freedom of speech. And then bring back our girls. And don't you care about this? And these lives matter. Like, whatever it is that starts off as an important cause, suddenly people start retweeting it, not necessarily because they care, because they want to look like they care. And that's the thing, is it's human nature to do it. Like, we've all done it. Like, I've retweeted stuff that's like, okay, yeah, it's easier to just retweet it than like have someone call you out saying, don't you care about this? But I wanted to make a movie about students like that get very, very caught up. And I remember it started, you know what? I was 18, I was at NYU, and I went up to Columbia to visit my friend, and there were these 3 girls that were sitting on the lawn and they were starving themselves. It was like November. And I was like, what are they doing? They're like, well, they're on a hunger strike. I was like, what are they striking? There's no war. Like, what are they striking? They're like, well, the janitors don't have health insurance. I was like, well, why do they care about the janitors having health insurance? They're like, well, the theory is that they all have eating disorders, and they just don't want to get called out for having an eating disorders. They go on a hunger strike, and they like to protest the janitors. And I was like, oh my God. It was so dark. I was like, and you can never accuse them of that, and I could never prove that. But I thought, wow, that's unbelievable. So I don't know if they had eating disorders or if they really were protesting, but they were like, no, these are like rich girls from Greenwich that just want a cause. So more than that, more than the eating disorders, it was people that just wanted a cause, just because they felt they needed one. And that's like a very college thing to do. And it always stuck with me. The image of those girls sitting there going, this is unfair, we're striking for the janitors. And then on the weekends, they go back to Greenwich, to their houses.
Well, could you survive yourself against these cannibals if you were put on that island? And what
no
would
way.
Be your weapon of choice?
Oh man, I would try and charm them. I would tap dance. I'd be like, hey, I'm the entertainer. I would teach them how to whistle. I think like I could show them really good survival skills. But no, ultimately I'd be, I'd be done. Hopefully I'd be too hairy to eat. Maybe they'd have to like burn me if they want to whack to be like, all right, that's like eating a bear, but they'd probably have to skin me. I wouldn't last 10 minutes with those cannibals. It was hard enough shooting in the jungle.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks, man.
I look forward to seeing the success of the film.
All right, let's hope